Hey everybody, hi. It's 7:25 on Sunday, August 23, 2020. Hi. It's been a month. I've been away a long time. I want to talk about that a little bit later, but first I want to start with, I'll tell you, I've got two brief pieces of new verse, a song, Francis Brabazon, another song, my ghazals, and then two more songs. I'm going to read two poems that I wrote this past week. Brief, really brief. First one is called Celestial Wine. Oh, and hi. Elena says hi. Elena's giving me eyes. Good look there. Okay, Celestial Wine. God alone is real. The still center holds the answers. The still mind hears the answers. The still mind, the silent mind. Now I'll do that again. Celestial Wine. God alone is real. The still center holds the answers. The still mind hears the answers. The silent mind listens. The deaf ear hears. The still center moves. And the answer appears. Simple, clear, not complicated. Here, now, not exaggerated. Implicit meaning, not important. A state of being, not imported but intrinsic. Class dismissed, listening begins, resting in peace within. Agitation? No. Acceptance? Yes. Listening, acceptance, and execution. Step by step, one at a time. The step is mine. The dance is thine. Transformation. Celestial Wine. That was written on August 5th. This is written on August 2nd. It's called When a Small Wind Blows. When a small wind blows, one never knows how far it goes. When a small wind blows. When a small voice speaks, like mountain creeks, does it turn some cheeks? When a small voice speaks. When the river flows, when it comes and goes, who really knows where the river flows? Such a little thing, like a bird that sings. If it's tied to a string, can it still take wing? Can its song uplift, or will it take short shrift, its gift bereft, left to the drift? When a small wind blows, one never knows how far it goes. When a small wind blows. Okay. Well, so before the first song, I put on the program some thoughts about these live streams, how they came to be, and where next. And really, it goes back to almost a year ago, towards just after my birthday last September. I was invited to be the guest artist at a meeting at Mayor Baba House in New York. And I said, well, to share some songs, stories, poetry, like that. And as the date approached, I was just winging it, letting Baba, I felt, guide me. And I decided to take this keyboard with me. And, because I always just bring the guitar. And, I have what we call Baba stories, where his hand in some event or some turn of events or some wonderful transformation or piece of assistance, or we have what we call Baba stories. And I have lots of them. He's been really generous in giving me very colorful and marvelous, wonderful stories. And another thing that Baba lovers tend to do is, when they get together, is say, how did you come to Baba? How did you come to Baba? Because we're a very small group of people, and we come from different backgrounds and different attitudes, even it was a somewhat different politics sometimes. And everyone's story is lovely. My story is also lovely, but it happens to be cinematic. It began with an incident on the day that Baba passed away, dropped his body, as we say. I hadn't heard of him, didn't hear of him until a year later, but it sent me on a quest. And when I heard of him and I saw him, I recognized him. But it wasn't a quest for God, it was a quest for a woman. So when I found him, I thought, well, he's love itself. So she was just meant to awaken love in me. But later on, a woman did show up, and I thought it was her. And I believed it was her, and things did not go well. And it really knocked me for a loop. And 10 years later, so many things had changed, and without my knowledge, the actual woman showed up. And the meaning of the whole thing, and a word that was spoken in it, turned out to be very, very, very profoundly meaningful. It was like the twist around the climax, and the closing twist, and the real climax, all unexpected stuff. So I can't tell that story in, 10 minutes. A few weeks ago, I told it to a dear old friend who lived part of it. And we were on the phone strictly telling the story for 4.5 hours. Anyway, a year ago, for that meeting where I was the guest, I decided I'm going to tell the story as much as I can in music. Because I've been writing music, singing since I was 3. At least I have that recorded. And writing music since I was in my early teens. And so everything that happened in that story was documented with feeling. And with the surprise and the shock and the wonder, all of it. So I thought, well, I'll tell that story with music. And it was about 2 hours. And by then, I had only gotten from 1969 to 1972. And then I had to just say, and this and that, and this and that, and this and that, and that's what happened. So I've always had the thought of maybe sharing this story in full, with all the music, all the poetry, which makes it worth listening to, even if you don't get the answer to the mystery till the end. That would take a lot of planning. But it's been on my mind lately because I feel Baba urging me forward to do something different from what I've been doing here. So that was in September. I hope this is not boring. Maybe to Elaine. So, come January and February of this year, we always have a celebration, a public celebration of Mayor Baba's birthday in New York. And for some reason, the New York group, a lot of things came to pass that had happened this way. For the first time in my 40 years with Baba in New York, 40, 50, there was not going to be a public celebration of his birthday in New York. And something in me, I would say it was Baba in me, said, no, this must happen. Baba was in New York many times, and his imprint and his work done in this city was enormous. But I don't like taking leading roles in things. But anyone I spoke to, I was getting just really not helpful answers about having something, And one morning I was in bed from 8 to 8:30, and I was tussling with Baba. Zeke laughs when I say I was tussling with Baba in bed for half an hour. But it was what to do. And what I got was call Zeke, because she was down here. And I called her, and quoting a quote from Gandhi that we both know, she listened carefully, and she said, well, I think you need to be the change you want to see in the world. And it was like, damn it. I knew it was absolutely true what she was saying. And so I committed to do what I could to make it happen. I made phone calls, I contacted people, I was very proactive. I kept feeling Baba prodding me, this has to happen, I want this. Baba had once expressed his wish to Dr. Harry Kenmore that his birthday be celebrated publicly in New York every year. Free to the public, of course. And it happened. It happened on February. His birthday was February 25th. I think it was on the 26th. That's Sunday. We gathered at the Lantana de Vittorio in Greenwich Village, and we had a wonderful, wonderful gathering with lots of people, each bringing some gift of music or poetry or story, and Baba's presence filled the air. People from outside were looking in because it's just off the street level, and the folks who worked on upper stairs would come down and wanted to be part of it. It was wonderful. And I went to bed that night, and I imagined the United States in darkness at night, right? And this great beam of light coming out of this little restaurant in New York City. And of course, not long after that, little did we know this virus that was going around was going to be a big deal. And within 2 weeks, we were on lockdown. And I did come to feel that, yes, Baba wanted his presence here in New York before it hit. And my deep feeling is he mitigated, as bad as it was here, we got through it eventually. We got through it. So, there I am in March, and my wife's a massage therapist, and I'm on the table, and I'm saying, Zeke, I've been with Baba for 50 years, but the feeling of closeness, the intimate feeling of Baba in me, during this period that I was helping carry out his wish that was speaking clearly in me, I said, was so intimate, was so wonderful, was so different, so unique. I want more of this. I want more of this. And I was praying, and I was saying, Baba, show me, what else can I do? What else is in your wish that I can help and serve to help make happen? And I'm lying on the massage table, and the massage finishes, and suddenly I leapt up, and I had a thought that came to me, and it felt like it came from Baba. I've talked about Harry Kenmore, his intimate disciple, who he instructed to give talks in New York every Saturday night, and he subsequently gave talks on the discourses, Baba's discourses, every Wednesday. He did these talks for 3 years, I believe, and they're all recorded. And it's been a big pet peeve of mine that somehow they fell into the hands of one person who, by some justification, had it, but did not have the juice to bring this to the world. And the fellow passed it on to some other people who had the possibilities, but didn't, in my view, didn't seem to like Harry, didn't seem to have the respect like him as Baba's Mandali, intimate Mandali, who had been charged with delivering something, particularly to the West. And what I got on that massage table is to call up some of the folks involved and some of the folks in that part of the Meher Baba community and see if it was possible for me to get hold of those tapes and those recordings. And I started learning about my digital music software, that maybe we could digitize them if they're not already, and set up a weekly podcast. It would last at least 3 years, with Harry's talks every 3 years. And this feeling of, yes, Baba, you've given me something that you really want, because these talks were given by his instruction. He wanted these, and he spoke highly of them. He said, you capture their minds, and I will be capturing their hearts. So they're powerful talks, and only a handful of us have heard them and been there and seen them. So Zeke, who doesn't like to travel with Elena lately because it's sometimes difficult for Elena, arranged for Elena to stay with a caregiver for a week. And we booked out the time. We were going to book a flight, go to Myrtle Beach, go to where this Baba Center is, for a week, talk to the people involved, sound it out first, and then certainly COVID was really starting to become a thing. And the idea of traveling on a plane seemed to be a real big problem. So I said, we can't take a plane. It's too risky. We'll have to drive. And we had to arrange for even more time, so we'd have at least a week there to drive there and drive back to South Carolina. And then word came that because of COVID, if anyone staying at the center there, the Baba Center, was diagnosed with this, everyone would have to go on lockdown. And we couldn't do that because we couldn't leave Elena without our presence for more than that week with this very good caregiver. So we had to cancel. And it was like, I don't get it, because Baba clearly was the juice behind that. And then a week or so passed, and I was online, and I saw a singer who I'd never even bothered to listen to because I didn't like her name. This is how biased, in a non-racial way, biased my thinking can be. Her name is Mary Chapin Carpenter. And I thought, oh God, how tacky. She picked a name and named herself after Harry Chapin and Karen Carpenter, you know? And so, with my stubborn prejudgment, I'd never even bothered listening to her. Well, she started doing a live stream from her home. And my God, her spirit was so beautiful. And the love that was behind it was so tangible. And the music was lovely. And suddenly, not in words, but in that same way with its birthday celebration, or with the program I did in last September, or with this thing about Harry Kenmore's talks, suddenly Baba clearly spoke in me, I want you to do this. I want you to do the same thing. And I was nervous and scared and everything else, but Baba was prodding me in the same way that I had come to love the prodding he gave me about the birthday celebration, the prodding about Harry's talks. And so I did one, and then I did another, and each day it was like he was prodding me, do another one today, do another one today. So I started on March 26th, and if you've been listening, you know that by now, this is going to be the 54th, and most of those were done on consecutive days. I mean, lately it's been about a month apart, and that's because something is slipping in the juice, that inner juice. I've got a pattern here. I do a song, I read some Francis's works from Stay With God, I do another song or two, I read 5 of my ghazals from my book, and then I sing a song or two. And I tell some stories, not this long. But it's not there. That's why it's been a month, because I'm pushing it. It's not Baba pushing me, but me pushing. And when I'm pushing, I don't want to do it. Because unless this is connected to something that Baba wants, wishes me to do, I'm really not so interested. So I'm looking to see, I believe he wants me to continue these live streams, but in a different way. And I'm thinking maybe, what is really calling to me from him is to tell my story. It's a story I know he wants told. Not because I'm great or anything, but I happen to get to play a really great role in some extraordinary designing by Mayor Baba with such love and compassion and drama. He had wanted to make a movie. He talked to people in Hollywood during the 30s, and he wanted a movie to be made. And I really feel he wants this made as a movie. And I'm like in knots about it for decades, and I'm not following through. And I thought a good way to start maybe is to tell the story here to you. And it'll take months. I mean, because it starts off with me singing at 3 years old, David Crockett, and you have to get a little background before the story starts. Or my dad playing, I'm gonna sit right down and write myself a letter, things like that. Okay, so I don't know what's next, but I really wanted to bring you up to date. I've been really agonizing about what to put in the next live stream. That's why it's taken me a whole month to do another one. And prior to the last 2, it took another whole month, all because I'm struggling with this. I want to only do that thing that lets me feel so close to Baba because it's his wish in me manifesting. And so part of it now is me sharing this all with you. Baba lovers, not Baba lovers, we are all connected in the divine. It's the same one. I may call him Mayor Baba, you may call him something else, but we're all integrally connected. So I know you understand what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm just going to leave that there. Oh my God, so that was 20 minutes. It was because it was 7:25 when we started. This song I wrote sometime in the 80s, and it was again kind of when I was struggling with, he wants me to share my creative gifts, and I'm real insecure about sharing my creative gifts and stuff, that kind of stuff. And here I'm insecure about sharing my spirituality. It's all kind of connected. But this is a song written back then, and I have changed it a little bit and changed the last verse. Because back then, was called I Had a Dream. And it begins with recounting this dream, and it ends with recounting the dream. And it doesn't go anywhere because I didn't have a place to go with it. But in preparing it for you, I was able to end it with where I am now. And I changed the name to What the Dreamer Knows. And thanks to Zeke's advice, I picked up the tempo was, I had a dream, I don't know what it means. And by the time you get to the end, you just want to hang yourself because it's so slow and boring. So I speeded it up and cut out a verse, and here we go. What the Dreamer Knows. I had a dream, I don't know what it means, but I can't go to sleep no more. It gave me a fright. I jumped up and turned on the light, and now I'm pacing across the floor. I wanna know what the dreamer knows. My life had passed. I was sitting on the grass, watching the clouds up in the sky, wondering why my dreams had died before me. How did I let them all pass by with nothing to show? How was I to know? The angels came and sang my music to me. They had been listening through the years. They asked me why I had not shared such beauty. I could not answer through my tears. I just didn't know till it was time to go, because I did not like the pace. Ooh, I pulled myself out of the race. A gift was given me to share, I only gave it to the air. The angels cried, and then they took me aside and said, your chance has just begun. Love is new, and there are things you must do before your time and life on by. We're reminding you to see it through. I've been afraid to lose my soul. Ooh, to riches, fame, acclaim, and gold. And so I hoarded what I had, then wondered why I felt so bad. I had a dream, and now I know what it means, and I won't waste a single moment more. Hesitation's the sin, when the aim is to let love in and let it out. That's how love grows. It's what the dreamer knows. how love grows is what the dreamer knows. How love grows, what the dreamer knows. Okay, what the dreamer knows. Slip it away. And the next, this is, again from Book 1 of the epic poem Stay With God by Francis Brabazon. I've numbered the stanzas, they don't have numbers, but the 134th to the 143rd stanza. Also, I'm thinking, in the next set of stanzas, he talks about Baba announcing his avatarhood to the world. And he basically quotes the statement. It's a wonderful statement. Then where Baba says, I'm either the highest of the high or I'm an ordinary person, but don't take me for anything in between. So this precedes that. But it occurs to me that if I'm going to change what I'm doing in these live streams, that it would be after the next one. That's at least the intuition I'm getting about all that. But for now, this is picking up with this biographical section from Stay With God. Baba had just been in the great seclusion from 22 June to 31 July 49. On August 15, he called his disciples together and told him he would be embarking on what he called his new life phase on October 16th, a life of helplessness on the roads, and invited whomso would follow him, warning them to consider it carefully. There would be no return, and himself helpless to help them. For now he who had been greatest, whom they all took as the perfect master, as God in human form, he who had been greatest would become least. He who had been the highest of the high would be the lowest of the low. So they would not call on him, pray to him for things. He would be as a man among men, relying wholly and solely on God, setting a pattern in the template of humanity. So here it begins now. Those who went with him were to consider themselves already as the dead, who have no further connection with the living, and ask no more questions, and need no provision for their journey. They must disburden themselves of all fads and religious beliefs, and have no expectations whatsoever of reward. Be willing to die causeless and without reason, as a noble tree in the forest lives without connection or question, and is already dead without reason of its own, being marked out by a pitiless axeman. Then Baba had 4 of his disciples read from the 4 Bibles, Avesta, Gita, New Testament, and Quran. And as each reading was finished, he took the scripture in his hands and laid it on a table and told one to pray thus, quote, "May God help Baba to definitely make this step which he is taking, to give up everything and go away irrevocable, so that from October 16th, when he enters the new life, there will be no turning back," unquote. And some were amazed that he prayed to God, for never before had he done this, but had always said he was the same as God. Yes, perfect, as are all perfect masters, perfect. And each believed this, both from his presence and from his acts, and from his acts with others. And their faith was not shaken, even those who had been with him since he was... I gotta switch it over here. And some were amazed that he prayed to God, for never before had he done this, but had always said he was the same as God, perfect, as are all perfect masters, perfect. And each believed this, both from his presence and from his acts with others. And their faith was not shaken, even those who had been with him since he had become perfect and established as avatar by the perfect five. But none thought to say, nor dared, if he had thought of it, say, Amen. Nor would the hardships of the roads of the must trips, the foot slogging and bullock cart sufferance of endless days and miles be their hardships, but the labor, the solid labor of controlling their every feeling and emotion. This is the new life, going out on the new life phase, where they had to deal with this, not the labor of all those travels they had done, but, where am I? But the labor, the solid labor of controlling their every feeling and emotion. Not feeling, but controlling feeling, catching it in is bud before it burst into expression. Sadhana of Mahasadakas, yoga of Mahayogis, Maharjuna of Kurukshetra, of victory of no reward, no hope, for love, for dear love. Yet would he still require of them obedience. Quote, I will live among you as your brother. Really? There'll be another song. There'll be another song after this. Are you thinking about the new life phase right now? Yeah. Yeah, it was, I figured it was really something that the new life phase they went on. This doesn't capture it only a tiny bit. But I know you know. I know you know. So, yet he would still require of them obedience. Quote, I will live among you as your brother. I may even fall at your feet or ask you to spit on me. That is why it will be very hard for you, he told them. Then he disbanded his ashrams and with what money came to him, provided for families dependent on him. And when the glorious morning of their going dawned, they set forth gloriously, and they sang a new song, the song of the new life. And this literally was a song that they sang as they set out on the roads each morning. Vanyas, Sanyas, Satyanas. Exile, renunciation, ruin. Quote, this is the end of my beginning and the beginning of my end, unquote. The pilgrim road led on to the conquest of that which is, but was not. Is, but never was anything at all. Led on to the destruction of mind, mother of illusion and delusion, of hopes and fears and attachments and separations and thirst. Spinner of coins of gain and loss, maker of art and bad art. But God has his own thirst, which leads him in the devotee to himself. The perfect masters enact their roles. Avatar becomes the part he plays for our unveiling. Just as in a play well put together for our enlightenment, a real play concerning some episode in the life of an avatar, an actor is a carpenter and is making a table and acts his part perfectly. Or another actor, for the duration of the play, becomes and does not know himself as other than a carpenter. What is it, sweetheart? The difference between Baba and the perfect masters. Yeah. When the Christ, the avatar, comes in form, he becomes a man. It's not playing the part of a man, he becomes a man among all men and women in creation. Yeah. Like an actor. One actor just plays the part and the other becomes a carpenter while he's on the stage. So, a real play the perfect masters enact their roles, Avatar becomes the part he plays for our unveiling. Just as in a play well put together for our enlightenment, a real play concerning some episode in the life of an avatar, an actor is a carpenter, like Joseph, and is making a table and acts his part perfectly. Or another actor, for the duration of the play, becomes and does not know himself as other than a carpenter. So, Baba became helpless and prayed to God to help him, and with God's help, annihilated his mind, the lower mind. And when mind was gone, now this is after the New Life phase, when mind was gone, his old life of knowledge, strength, and greatness abided. But he kept also, by his own act of keeping, the ignorance, weakness, and humility of the new life. Then was he himself and us at the same time. And so there arose in him life, free and obligationless, the life of master and servant, of knowledge that we are all eternally one, indivisible and infinite in essence, but separate through ignorance. Life of strength in knowledge and weakness in binding desires. And this led to the tripartite life of complication. The next phase then, after the new life, after that phase. And this led to the tripartite life of complicated free life, in which bindings dominated freedom. That's when he had his car accident in Prague, Oklahoma. Full free life, in which freedom dominated bindings. Fiery free life, wherein both freedom and bindings were consumed in the fire of divine love. And that's the period where he traveled throughout India, and the country just literally was on fire with his love. Now was there a complete blending of God's state and man's state, in which the one lived not in opposition to the other, neither did one encroach upon the province of the other, and the divine truth of his realization he shared with those who sought it. Oh, says my fool, if bindings dominated freedom, how could it be a free life? If freedom's dominated binding still trailing, freedom would not be free. Listen, sweet fool, God is not false. He may allow bindings to bind him, but he is not bound. Oh, sweet fool. Oh, sweet fool. We're getting near the end of this reading section. We are getting near the end of this reading section. Okay? Just a little bit left. Ho, says my fool, if bindings dominated freedom, how could it be a free life? If freedom's dominated bindings still trailing, freedom would not be free. Listen, sweet fool, God is not false. He may allow bindings to bind him, but he is not bound. He may exert freedom over bindings, but that is not his freedom. He wears loosely both freedom and binding. His bondage in us is our deliverance in him. And our binding in him, our freedom from ourselves. And the next one begins with, now he could again say that he was the ancient one, the highest of the high. And in Dehradun in 1953, on the anniversary of his birth as Zarathustra, he said, and that will be probably the last live stream in which I include these readings from Francis. And maybe I'll try this different way of doing it. So, here's another song. You know, people used to say, gee, you never met Mayor Baba. How could, you know? But of course for me, I did, but I didn't meet him perform. I only heard of him after he had, my first inkling from him was the moment he passed away, so, you know. And some people, you know, say how, so many came at that time. Anyway, at some point, with this on my mind, I wrote this song. It's a little bit playful. It's a little bit of a playful thing. But it's also seriously playful. It's called The One Beyond Time. I was only late by just a minute or two when the train left the station with you on board. The trestle was gaily decorated with flowers and vines for the one beyond time. There were eyes filled with teardrops that glistened like dew as they waved goodbye, but they did not cry. But the smile that sustained them was the love that they knew, and the clock bell chimed for the one beyond time. I might have been sad when I heard the news that you had fled in the train that sped off to tomorrow, but I laughed instead with a joy so sublime for the one beyond time. For there by my side in the waiting throng was you with the others waving so long, with the mischievous twinkle that inspired this song. And I started to rhyme for the one beyond time. I said, I'll write you a song, I'll sing you a praise, oh mysterious traveler who forever stays. I'll dance to your tune where the buffalo plays and the sky is not cloudy or gray. You just smiled, embraced me like a mother and child, and my heart burst in two and the tears flooded through. Like a river of bliss in the ocean so free, and I laid down my mind in the one beyond time. For there by my side in the waiting throng was you with the others waving so long, with the mischievous twinkle that inspired this song. And I started to rhyme for the one beyond time. You just smiled and embraced me like a mother and child, and my heart burst in two and the tears flooded through. Like a river of bliss in the ocean so free, and I laid down my mind in the one beyond time. And I laid down my mind in the one beyond time. That one was also written in the 80s, which I came across on my copyright tape. This next one is not a song. This is... Ooh. Ghazals 121 to 125 from my book 424 Ways to Find Your Lover, which is not a singles manual. It's divine lover within each one of us finding the divine beloved. And again, if I decide to change how I'm doing these live streams, I probably will mean dropping these ghazal readings, so we'll never get to number 424, but we'll see, maybe later. I don't know where we're going. Hopefully my putting it all out there like this will help move something in me. So here is Ghazal 121, called Gently Like a Bubble. Oh, the monster threatened my little girl yesterday through her mother. How, oh coursed miracles, can I see him as my real brother? You talk about insanity, but this is more than mere dementia. As far as I can tell, all soul and spirit flow are currently in absentia. May I invite a blast of healing love upon this rock to make the miraculous transformation that non-believers mock? The miracle change of heart can be, as we have seen through tear-filled eyes, overflowing with gratitude and true divine surprise. But can the grace of God descend so low to bring the heart so high in a Hitler, an OJ, a Tony Soprano? I've never seen it, and neither have I. So perhaps it is time for something entirely new. A miracle to prove the love of God is infinitely powerful and true. I admit, this points to a faithlessness in me that must have healing first. My divine beloved, I invite you, step inside this bubble and make it burst. That's called gently like a bubble. This one is called, let's see. You brought me to my destiny. Now it's time to move on. I visit my sacred center, and now you're gone. I spent nearly 25 years playing in this sandbox, now in tune with my life divine. Other times, just watching clocks. It's been the vehicle of many blessings, undoubtedly. Yet I've always felt that something more was meant for me. It happens. People think that, feel that. Maybe I was just pursuing fragments of a dream while riding like Buck Rogers on your eyes' divine sunbeam. But now at last, the time has come to make the move, and there can be no doubt as to whether you approve. Because without your high sign, it simply couldn't be. So maybe now I'll be content with whatever you've got in store for me. Or maybe not. Oh my God, you know just how I am. Let's see if we can walk ahead now with a bit more harmony. Well, you know, you're gonna write, you gotta be honest and naked. You know, Baba talked about folks who would come to surrender to him, and they said, would you do anything? Anything I ask of you? Oh yes, Baba, I'll obey you, I surrender to you. Anything at all. Yes, Baba, I'm here, I want God, I want nothing but God. And they were in the town of Ahmednagar. And Baba said, all right, so this is what I want of you. I would like you to go and walk naked in Ahmednagar. But Baba, my friends are there, my family are there. The people that I work with. You said you've come to surrender. This is what to obey my wish, whatever it is. Walk naked in Ahmednagar. Well, of course he couldn't do it, and Baba rescinded the order. But as so much in the life of the avatar of the Christ, it's a parable. We are asked to walk naked in Ahmednagar. And in a poem like that, that's an example of sometimes, you know, you walk naked, there are warts and stuff. So, but that's how I believe that's how you come to achieve honesty of being. And Baba says, when you're honest, I can manifest in you. God can manifest in you. All right, so ghazal number 123 is called Blessings. Every day, in every way, I bless all things that come my way. Yeah, every day, in every way, I bless all things that come my way. The things I love expand with grace. The rest dissolve or leave my space. The atmosphere is vastly improved. How things get better when they are loved. Sympathetic vibrations grow and resonate wherever they flow. Inner visions take the field. Inner crops bring a bountiful yield. World affairs, once so despairing, shift to a place of love and caring. Amen, amen, amen. We help world affairs, once so despairing, shift to a place of love and caring. We help God keep his promise in this. By blessing it all, we receive love's kiss. That's Ghazal 123, blessing. Number 124, this is called That We Are Eternal. 2 more ghazals and then 2 more songs. You can give me background music if you want while I'm reading. Feel free when I'm reading if you want to give background music. But you did that once, it was wonderful. Okay. This is called That We Are Eternal. Like 2 Zen masters, we wash and lay out the dishes together to dry, happy in our light, regardless of overcast weather. Even if this is our very last moment, so what? These dishes, this washing, this instant, look at all we've got. If I can end my life lost in a useful task, by the very rhythm of it all, I drop my mask. So will I even notice when this costume falls? Time has become my dancing partner. Elena, let me finish these. I know you have a lot to say. Let me finish these. So will I even notice when this costume falls? Time has become my dancing partner, though for those who fear, it crawls. We've been through so much in this city these past few years, what with 9/11 and Bush Cheney multiplying fears. A person sometimes cannot help but pass on their own psychoses. But I am still free to lay out the dishes and smell the roses. Those who live in terror of dying have missed the point. We are here to be truly living. They get their noses so out of joint. If for just one moment we could all just let our fears and pretenses go, we might have a chance of really knowing what God would have us know, that we are eternal. That's Ghazal number 124, that we are eternal. Now usually I don't read these before I share them here. It's been 12 years since I've seen most of them. But the blessings one I had read before. And this next one I read because I had to make sure I had my wife's permission to share it. And she's fine with it, and I thought it was okay, but, it really pays to be, thoughtful and considerate, right? This is called, and relationships, serious relationships, you are helping each other find self-honesty. Committed, long-term, intimate relationships. It's built into it's baked into the bread, You are helping each other find real self-honesty and love beyond wounds. So it's sometimes a challenging thing, and we are usually very gracious in helping play that role for our partner. This is called Marital Harmony. What does it take to heal my wounded pride? A spouse who has too much to jab my side and prod me into feeling what I chose to leave alone, neglect, pretend to lose. It isn't that she does this consciously. It's simply the nature of her contract with me. And she is so completely committed to my healing that with every touch I would explain away, my mind goes reeling. Of course, I do the same for her, you see. And that is what is called marital harmony. Eventually, I am coming round to the place of surrender, accepting that I must honor this place in me, so soft and tender. So I've learned to sponsor this place in me that was neglected. And the healing in me is far more than I could have ever expected. That's my Ghazal 125, Marital Harmony. Now, we will get back to the music. Yeah. This next one was also from the mid '80s, and talk about relationships, and as Course in Miracles points out, and Marianne Williamson has talked about this, but when you first fall in love with someone, you are actually having an experience of union with God, of seeing the perfection of another human being, and in this, especially in what become the deeper or more committed relationships, you are also getting that taste of self-acceptance. And then after a while, stuff comes up. And depending on the purpose of that relationship, it may endure in that form or pass on from that form into something else. But while it is happening, the purity of the love that shines through, that comes through, and the gratitude and appreciation is a really wonderful thing. So this is about one of those experiences for me. And a song I wrote at the time, I've changed the words just slightly to protect identities and all that. It's called Not Until I Met You. I met women who tried to manipulate and use me. I met women who led me on and left me hanging. I met women who didn't know what they wanted. And I met women who knew much too well. I met women who were only friends but coquettish. I met women who always had other priorities. I met women where circumstances always seemed to interfere. And I met women who were just plain crazy. Who were just plain crazy. I met women with whom I had nothing in common. I met women who wouldn't love till the calculators tallied. I met women who would love me if I was someone else. I met women who simply didn't care, or worse. Not until I met you did I meet a woman who loves me as I am myself, feels and responds to my emotional needs, and tries to understand my loftier leanings, and strives to understand my loftier leanings, who longs for the security of love that is stable, who allows me to love her as much as I am able, who draws out my unspoken doubts and hesitations, who lifts me and stares with me, who lifts me and shares with me love, joy, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back. Not until I met you did I meet a woman who loves me as I am myself, who feels and responds to my emotional needs, and strives to understand my loftier leanings, and tries to understand my loftier leanings, who longs for the security of love that is stable, who allows me to love her as much as I am able, who draws out my unspoken doubts and hesitations, who lifts me and shares with me joy and elation, who lifts me and shares with me joy and elation. A song for you on your birthday. Happy birthday, happy reunion. Happy me to have found you. Love always. Love you. Love always. love you. Well, Elena kind of distracted me in the middle, so I just did that part over, right? It's okay. Not until I met you. And then, well, this one, I don't think I've done it yet in one of the live streams. This is newer. I mean, it's in recent decades. But I came across it, and I thought it'd be a nice way to end tonight. If you have gone to my YouTube page and you have seen the performance I did at the Poet to Poet event, where I sang 2 songs, this was one of them. And as of last week, that particular video, it's on my YouTube account, had over 1,000 hits, which for me, I mean, these things get millions of hits, so 1,000 isn't much, but for me, that's a big deal. So this song is called I've Been Afraid. You want to sing with me? You want to sing with me, Elena? You can keep on singing with me. Okay? You want to? You don't have to. And if you want to play with me, you can play with me. Oh, the games that we played. First you came, then you stayed, then I pushed you away, then I cried like a broken heart. It was all my design, all the pain, all the crying. I was lying to myself. It was I who was afraid to start. To start to untangle the put me first mode. We got into a wrangle. I pulled the noose tighter. You never would have strangled. I was only trying to stay like I was scared. But then when you went away, I couldn't better see you gone. Cause I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Why have I been so afraid to love? Whoa, I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Oh, I've been so afraid to love. Oh, the night that we fired the sky with desire and the flame of love shone above like a million suns. I was lost in joy like a little boy found, but like a little boy lost, I was afraid of a cost too high. A cost too high. Love like a diamond, cut my glass heart, shatter my mirror, terror forced me apart. I ran for cover. There was nowhere I could hide away. Born as a lover, I was so afraid to stay that way. Cause I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Oh, why have I been so afraid to love? Wow, I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Oh, why have I been so afraid to love? The road to freedom has boundaries on every side. They made me feel so secure until the road to freedom opened wide. I rode in the open air. I didn't know just what to do. With love flowing everywhere, I had to run away from you. Cause I've been afraid. Oh, have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Oh, have I been so afraid to love? Whoa, I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Oh, why have I been so afraid to love? Oh, I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Why have I been so afraid to love? Huh? I've been afraid. Why have I been so afraid? I've been so afraid. Why have I been so afraid to love? Okay. So, that's it. I don't know what the future holds. That's it for tonight. Probably gonna be another month before the next one. I don't know. It's 8:30. Well, it's longer than I expected because I talked so much. Elena says goodnight. I'm gonna come over and say hi and say goodnight. Oh, Madeline, good to see you here. And whoever else was here. I guess no one else has commented near the end. So thank you so much. Everyone who's here, everyone who came now, everyone who'll come and see this later. And God bless. I love you all. Bye-bye now.